Ronnie, let me ask you a question. I mean, earlier in your earlier introduction, you talk about the importance of execution, but it's very difficult to argue that you are lack of vision in China because you have been very successful in China. You get into China in the early 90s, and all your real estate development projects are very successful. And recently, you also talk about you will continue to invest heavily into China, but you're moving into the second-tier city. Can you talk a little bit about that particular vision, moving from the big city into the smaller city? What do you see, why do you do that, and what do you see the challenges might be?
Well, first of all, only 50% of my work is in real estate. That is a public company handling properties. The other 50% are private, which is in non-real estate. So since your question is on real estate, I'll only address that part. 15 years ago or so, we went into China. And in those days, everybody go everywhere. And we recognize one thing, that is, to do business in China is extremely heavily dependent on interpersonal relationships. And we just cannot build relationship everywhere. And real estate is a very local business. You really have to have relationship with a local counterpart. So we decided to only go to one place, and that is Shanghai. And fortunately, we picked one of the two best cities in the last 15 years, the other being Beijing. And just consider these numbers. Right now, we're getting 17% on a cash-on-cash, unleveraged basis return and growing at double-digit. Wow. And another project of mine is even better because we sold part of it. But anyway, you know, about 6-7 years into the project, we're getting about 70% and still growing. And that is really how good the market is. But amazing thing is this. Now that everybody is, you know, about 3 years ago, everybody began to rush into Shanghai. That is the time that I decided that Shanghai is going to be a very, very tough place. It's not because price is too high. A lot of people think that Ronnie is pessimistic about the Chinese market. No. What you think is expensive today is not going to be expensive 5 years from now. And every project takes, a life cycle, it takes about, 5 years or so. So it's not because it's too expensive. Rather, it's because the Shanghainese are too smart. Angela sitting in front of me, I really have to be careful what I speak. A beautiful Chinese lady in front of me. Wow. Well, anyway, they're so smart. And they know how to claim their rights, the Chinese people in Shanghai. And so you cannot clear land anymore these days. Very difficult. So that's why, one of the reasons why we go to the secondary cities. But another reason is, let's face it, China is growing from the center to the circumference. Just listen to what Andy said. I really like what you've said, Andy. You cannot stay in Shanghai and Beijing. You have to go outside. Thank you very much. Please rent space from me, right? And a lot of people say, hey, you're going to the second-tier city as if second-tier city is, some dinky little town. Don't forget, there's only 9 cities in this country that has a population of over 1 million. But in China, there's something like 90?
No, 170, over 170.
Okay, whatever the number is. And the second-tier cities I go into, 36 of them that I've been studying. Every one of them has a population of 4.5 million or more. Now, how many cities in the United States have 4.5 million or more, right? So these, of course, economically, they're not as vibrant as Shanghai, but that is something of the past. Something of the future, maybe something very different. And mind you, the land I buy everywhere outside of Shanghai today are a lot cheaper than the land I bought 15 years ago in Shanghai. Huh. So the return characteristic, factoring into it the lower rent and so forth, I think my return is still going to be at least as good as Shanghai. Having said that, I think when the upside comes, Shanghai is going to be fantastic, right? But nonetheless, since I cannot do it in Shanghai anyway, so you have to go to other cities. So I'm everywhere building really world-class things that if I were to put it in New York, Paris, London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, anywhere you put it in the world, they are world-class stuff. So just like Andy, we don't do mediocre stuff. We do world-class things, and that's how you keep yourself competitive.